Hello everybody and welcome to WASD20. My name is Nate and welcome to RPG class. This is So You Want to Slay a Dragon. This is a high school class all about tabletop role-playing games. And I am here in my classroom for the next couple weeks. I wanted to talk about what we're doing here in class and for the first 2 days. And I'm going to be doing more of these as well. A little bit of a vlog series on just kind of sharing what we're doing here in class. I did this 2 years ago as well. This is my second time doing the class. I did it 2 years ago. And if you want to learn more and see the basic syllabus and stuff like that, I did a video that pretty much talks all about that 2 years ago. And I'm going to put a link to it right up there so that I can kind of jump right into what we're doing day one. For those of you who have already heard about the class, which I've explained in several different videos. And if you're wondering, how on earth does he get to teach this thing? Well, I explain all that in those other videos. But it's 2 weeks. It's part of our winter program. And teachers are encouraged to teach something they are passionate about and share that with students. And for me, that's tabletop role-playing games. So here I am. I'm going to show you guys around the room a little bit. This is the innovation lab, we call it. It's kind of got some makerspace stuff that I've put away over there. And it used to have a lot more stuff, but we've actually gotten rid of it, a lot of it, because it wasn't being used. But we do use this as a kind of a green room. There's green screen. There's another green room over there on the other side. So we have 2 green screen spots. And other than that, I've kind of got it spec'd out here for the next 2 weeks for tabletop RPG class. And there's the goods over there. But we're going to go through. Getting a little bit tangled with my cord here, but I think I can handle it. Spun it around. I'm going to go through what I've been doing here in class for the first couple days. So, day one. What have we been up to? Well, we had a dice presentation yesterday where students got to select their own set of dice. That's something I really like to do. Just it's something special that they get to keep, right? So I really like doing that. And Chessex hooked me up with a 50% discount. And that's really nice, so it makes it easy to do. And I attached this little note to each set of dice. Some of you might have seen me post this on Twitter, but I think it was Matt Click who helped me write this from A Fistful of Dice, and maybe some of the other AbTab guys. I think I shared this with a couple years ago. And anyway, it's kind of just a fun little note. You can pause the video if you really want to read it, but I get all dramatic with it when I present their dice to them. And so that's fun. They get their dice, and then this year I decided to jump right into them being able to use the dice in a little solo adventure. So I used the Hero's Handbook, and last time I didn't do this till more toward the end of the day on day one, but I wanted to kind of just get them, they want to roll their dice. They just open them, they want to roll their dice, and so this gives them a chance to do that right away. So that I don't have to say, all right, now put your dice away so we can talk about what this class is going to be, which is kind of how it went last time. So this is the Skeleton King's Crypt, a solo adventure from the Pathfinder Beginner Box. Say what you will about Pathfinder, this whole product, the Beginner's Box, is an excellent resource for teaching the basics of a tabletop role-playing game. I wish the D&D 5th edition set did a little better job with some of this stuff, and it's just it's well presented and very graphically nice too in terms of like this example of play. I think this is just an excellent product. I don't play Pathfinder anymore, but there's certain tools and resources that this came with that are extremely useful. It is a little bit of a higher price tag than the D&D 5e starter set, but it's a great product. So do that. I do have some regrets about getting them jumping right into combat and the dice rolling without really, without really talking about the storytelling and the role playing. And that's what I try to emphasize is that these are collaborative storytelling experiences, and I don't know if we really get that when we're just like jumping right into trying to roll some dice to beat a monster's armor class. But at the same time, it is kind of fun. So anyway, if any of you have suggestions about a good way to do, I don't know if there's something similar that puts them in a role-playing situation, or maybe there's just a really quick short RPG that we could do. I feel like someone told me about some stuff like that, but I couldn't remember, and Just did what I did last time with this thing, which is a good thing to do. I just wish I also had. Then I actually did an example of role play with a student after that. I said, so this is kind of how a tabletop RPG works, but this is also how a tabletop RPG works. And I basically just had asked the student, hey, can I pick on you and we can do an example of role play? And he agreed. He had played a little bit before. And just kind of went through this little scenario in which like he found out that the guild master of the Thieves Guild that he was a part of, who he'd never met before because he was so low in the ranks, was his father, and now his father is telling him, and he had to make some choices, and so we did that too, and I said, so that's also tabletop role-playing games. No dice involved there, just we're having a conversation here and making some stuff up, making up a story, right? So anyway, it was good. But then we go into my intro to tabletop role-playing games, which is a set of slides I have presented on the channel before, about a year ago actually, maybe a little more. So I'll put a link to that video up there too if you want to see that. But that's just it, assuming no knowledge of tabletop role-playing games, what are they? And going through some basic terms like NPC and homebrew and module and session, adventure, one-shot, things like that. And just talking about the basics of what the game is, what the game master is, or the dungeon master, and that stuff. So those slides, and then I show 6 minutes, the first 6 minutes of Titan's Grave Episode 0, in which Will Wheaton kind of explains some of that, his take on what tabletop role-playing games are, and of course a very funny Will Wheaton way. And that's just a really great intro. We don't watch any more of Titan's Grave. I tell kids, yeah, you can go watch that if you want, but yeah. I've got, mostly 10th graders in the class and some 11th and 12th. No 9th graders. I think the class was full by the time 9th graders got to register, and that's a good problem to have, I guess. I got 20 kids in the class this year. Last time I capped it at 16, but I figure, you know what? I can handle 20. It's not that big a deal. Once we get playing, then we just have 4 groups of 5, a DM and 4 players, and that works out. I think it will work out well. It was a chore sometimes, like during character creation. I didn't write this on here, but we did start character creation toward the end of day 1 yesterday. So anyway, then we took a break. Then we do a little faith reflection. It's a Christian school, so we do a little bit of that every day. I try to recognize head on that in the past, in Christian circles, this hobby has been viewed very negatively, and still is by some. But recognizing head on and kind of providing some of my justification for, so let's just talk about play and leisure first, and how should we view that? What is the place of play in our lives? And basically I talk about the fact that we were made to play, all right? That we can't ignore that. And tabletop role-playing games can be a valuable form of that. Then we get into so then we did some character creation. We started it, had about 30 minutes or so, and it was a little chaotic. I remember it being chaotic last time too, but here's what I did differently last time that I will recommend to myself next time I teach this. I actually reached out like 2 months beforehand, the previous semester, and said, hey, if you want to make a character for when we play 5th edition, I recommend coming into some lunch meetings and let's start making characters now. This will be kind of fun, and it'll be a way for us to not take class time. And if you don't do this, you can just use a pre-gen character when we get to class in January. This time I didn't do that. I kind of forgot about that detail, and we ended up trying to make characters in class, which was okay, but it was a little rough. Some kids struggled with the solo session, and I think kids who just maybe struggle with reading maybe, or just just felt a little bit overwhelmed perhaps. And then I think also that's true with character creation. Some very smart kids, but struggled with character creation. Character creation can be really fun, and I think they overall enjoyed it, but it can also be very challenging. It was for me my first time. I enjoyed it, but it took me like 3 hours, right? So anyway, helped them out with that, but in the future I need to rethink that and maybe do it the way I did last time. And then we introduced the project, which they will be working on. Mostly, I think we'll start presentations on Friday and then more next week on a role-playing game system. They get to choose. I have a list of like 15 of them. Call of Cthulhu, Numenera, Symbaroum, ICRPG, Fate, Dread, a bunch more. You're probably all shouting at your screens right now going, what about this one? And maybe it's on my list. I don't know. But I try to stick to ones that are not very similar to D&D for the most part. Yeah. So they started working on those, or I guess we just assigned groups yesterday, and they didn't really have much time to work. I'll move over to day 2 here. I thought about breaking this into 2 separate videos, but we're just going to keep rolling over, guys. There we go. Some of my notes here from, I think we were talking about equipment and that step of character creation. I also have, I should show over here too, I do have some stuff on, just showing the dice, because that can be a sticking point for some people where they're like, which one is that, right? I don't know if my illustrations do them justice, but anyway, we talked about crits a little bit. I can't remember what this was. Anyway, yeah. Then move over to day 2. So, day 2, today was Tuesday, and I had a couple questions for him. I wanted to know who had played Lost Mine of Fendelver, because that's what we're going to be doing for the most part for our playing. I also wanted to know what class they're playing so that I can assign groups with some level of class equality. I'm not too concerned if we have a few fighters or whatever. It's not a huge deal. But then we continued Then we did a faith reflection on escape and the value of secondary worlds, which I did a video on a couple years ago, and I'll put a link to that up here too. I'm signing myself up for a whole lot of work by saying it. I'll put a link to that right up here because I hope I don't forget. But that was something we read a little bit of C.S. Lewis, actually. We read some of his review of Lord of the Rings, and it's really kind of a defense of the Lord of the Rings, where a lot of people didn't like it and still look down on fantasy. And I think that was especially the case back then, and I think it's becoming less the case now. But talking about the value and how escape has become a dirty word, but there is value in it as well. Anyway, character creation, continued that. Probably about 45 minutes on that. It was a while finishing up, and some kids still didn't quite finish, and I needed a lot of help, and that's fine. It's challenging. Others were sitting by people who had played before, and it wasn't as challenging. History lesson. Today I did a history lesson on the beginning of time up to 1974. Okay, so all the way from prehistoric games, and mainly focusing on how we get from war games, where do we see the first war games, and how do we get progress from war games, not progress, but evolution anyway, morphing into tabletop role-playing games as we know them now. So I do hope to do a video on that at some point, and it might even be this week that I get around to filming that because I'm so immersed in that. That was kind of my plan, but I'm also teaching a morning class, and I'm really busy. I'm pretty fried right now, but it's good. I enjoy what I'm doing. So little history lesson, 20-30 minutes there. Then we took a break. So yeah, I lecture. I just have slides and I lecture. It's not anything revolutionary. I try to involve them, but yeah. And then we had, I feel like we didn't do this. Yeah, I think that's right. We were getting pretty late by this point. 30 minutes of group work on their projects where they could just do some research and get things together, and that might be the only work time they have in class. They might have to do the rest at home. Maybe we'll have a little tomorrow. And then I passed out a homework assignment on morality in games, and this is one I used to teach a class on video games. Video games, history, and critical thinking it was called. We actually did play a lot of old video games especially, and indie games and stuff, and discussed just important topics, critical thinking topics in video games and in the industry. So this one was Christian perspectives on game violence that I've adapted now for the tabletop role-playing game class too. So they've just got a worksheet with this, some pre-reading questions, and then some questions based on this few pages of reading. So do that and just get students thinking about, what, and we all have different comfort levels with it. Some people are willing to say, hey, it's just a game, so anything goes, right? It's just a game. It's make-believe. Other people feel a little more uncomfortable with that, right? I mean, it's kind of like video games too. Some people can play GTA and make that separation that this is just a game. Other people just don't want to go there, right? They just don't want to run over prostitutes in a video game, or hey, that's minimizing what GTA is. I mean, GTA can be a pretty epic experience. But you get the idea, right? So we all have different comfort levels with that. So I don't provide an answer, but I like to get students thinking about it and thinking about what they feel is right for them in terms of, how far do we go in tabletop role-playing games? What should be our limits, if any? And get them thinking about that for themselves. And personally, I do have my limits. I'm not of the mindset that anything goes in a game. Anyway, let's see. I think I should show off some of my stuff here. The video's getting pretty long and windy. That's okay. You guys are with me, right? All right. I should turn. Sorry. I'm not going to edit this either. You're going to have to put up with all this. I put the ability score modifiers up there so they could have an easy reference to those. Here you can see I'm getting ready for tomorrow. I am actually running a game tomorrow. I didn't plan to do that, but I didn't have enough volunteers. And when I thought about it, I was like, hey, actually, I think I kind of want to do that. So I've got 2 students who are going to be, 3 who are running games, but we need 4 groups. So we're going through Last Man of Fendelver. I got to read up on that tonight. Get ready. I did bring some pawns in. I brought a couple battle mats, and I'm not sure if kids are going to play Theater of the Mind or use the maps. But I told them, hey, bring your own stuff if you want to use it. The DMs I have, one guy is pretty experienced, at least in playing. The other 2 are pretty new. I've got one girl who DM'd for her first time over break, Christmas break, winter break, and another one who I don't know if she's ever DM'd. So that's really cool. Always encourage them to give it a shot, and hopefully we'll have more people trying throughout the next week or so. But here's all the stuff I've brought in. I got the Pathfinder box. I've got all my history books right here. Using Elmo to project the character sheet. Dice rolling trays, modules, and game systems. Pretty much brought in my whole bookshelf almost. And just a ton of the beginner boxes and stuff like that for kids to try out. That's really nice. Just got a whole bunch of stuff, and I just encourage them, hey, come up and look at some of this stuff. And, you got a break. If anyone wants to grab a book, feel free. I know that most of these students don't own as many of the books as I do. So, I think that's about it, guys. I want to thank you so much for joining me. I guess I'll put the camera back on me here. There we go. I'll give you a proper goodbye. If you guys have any questions or comments, definitely leave those down below. Oh, the camera's slipping. But I will hopefully come back with more. I'm going to try to do this every other day. I think it's a bit much for me to do it every day, but I think it works well to summarize 2 days of class and talk about what we've been up to. I look forward to good reporting back to you on how our games are going. I think we're going to play D&D this week, and then we are going to, some point next week, we're going to play Star Wars, some of the Fantasy Flight Star Wars games, which I have over there. I might open it up to more than that and say, or you could also try Fate, or you could also try Numenera, or I probably won't. Yeah, anyway, I don't know. We'll see. I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. But definitely the Fantasy Flight Star Wars games will be getting some play time because those beginner boxes are pretty good intros to that system. And it's a different enough system from D&D 5e. I think that's the big thing. I want something that's fairly different from D&D 5e. And that one is with the narrative dice, totally different setting. Maybe not totally different, but pretty different. So yeah, thank you guys for joining. I welcome your comments, questions, thumbs ups, thumbs downs, subscriptions, and everybody take care. You'll see me again very soon.